Right now, at this very second, how many browser tabs do you have open? How many unread messages are sitting in your inbox? When was the last time you read an entire article without skipping to the summary? If you had to pause and think about any of those answers, congratulations. You're experiencing something that scientists, psychologists, and neuroscientists are calling the defining mental health crisis of our generation. And no, it's not burnout, it's not depression, it's not anxiety, though it wears all of those masks. It's something far more insidious. Your brain is being slowly, methodically, and deliberately rewired, and you probably didn't even notice it happening. Let me paint a picture for you. You wake up. Before your feet touch the floor, your thumb has already unlocked your phone. You scroll through notifications, a news headline, a friend's vacation photo, a video of a dog doing something funny, another headline, a meme, a product ad disguised as content. 20 minutes disappear, you haven't moved from your bed, you haven't thought a single original thought. Your brain has consumed approximately 3,000 pieces of micro-content, and you remember exactly none of it. This isn't a morning routine. This is a hijacking. In 2024, Oxford Dictionary selected a term as its word of the year. Not a technology word, not an AI term, not something about climate or economics. They chose brain rot. Let that sink in. The most prestigious linguistic institution in the English-speaking world looked at the current state of humanity and decided that the most accurate word to describe our collective experience is the decomposition of our thinking organ. The official definition describes it as the deterioration of a person's mental or intellectual state, especially as a result of overconsumption of trivial or unchallenging content. But that clinical definition doesn't capture what's really happening. What's actually occurring inside your skull right now, as you watch this, is something far more profound. Your brain is literally reshaping itself around distraction. Here's something they don't teach you in school. Your brain isn't a computer. It doesn't have a fixed architecture. It's more like a garden, constantly growing, pruning, and reshaping based on what you feed it. Neuroscientists call this neuroplasticity. It's the brain's remarkable ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections. It's how you learn to walk, to talk, to read. It's why stroke victims can sometimes relearn lost functions. It's one of the most beautiful adaptations in all of biology. And right now, it's being used against you. Every time you open TikTok, every time you refresh Instagram, every time you click on that enticing thumbnail, you're not just passing time. You're conducting a neurological experiment on yourself. The prefrontal cortex, that magnificent piece of neural real estate right behind your forehead, is responsible for everything that makes you distinctly human. Planning, decision-making, impulse control, the ability to delay gratification, complex reasoning. Dr. Gary Small at UCLA has spent decades studying how digital technology affects brain structure. His findings are unsettling. Heavy consumption of low-value digital content doesn't just affect your mood or your productivity. It physically shrinks the prefrontal cortex. Read that again. The part of your brain that allows you to plan your future, to control your impulses, to think critically about information, it gets smaller, measurably, visibly smaller. And here's the cruel irony. The worse the damage becomes, the less capable you are of recognizing it. Let's talk about the oldest motivation system in existence. Deep in your brain sits a reward circuit that evolved over millions of years. When our ancestors found food, this circuit released dopamine, a chemical messenger that essentially told the brain, "This is good, remember this, do this again." It's an elegant system. Effort leads to reward. Reward releases dopamine. Dopamine reinforces the behavior that led to the reward. This is how humans learn to hunt, to gather, to cooperate, to build civilizations. Now imagine someone found a way to trigger that reward without any effort at all. That's what social media engineers have done. They've cracked the code on your reward system. They've found the cheat codes to your brain. Every notification is a micro-dose of dopamine. Every like, every comment, every new follower, another hit. The scroll itself becomes addictive because of something called variable ratio reinforcement. You don't know when the next interesting thing will appear, so you keep scrolling, just like a gambler keeps pulling a slot machine lever. But here's what happens when you flood your brain with cheap dopamine. It adapts. Your baseline reward threshold rises. Things that used to feel satisfying, completing a book, finishing a project, having a deep conversation, no longer register the same way. This is called hedonic adaptation, and it's turning an entire generation into something unprecedented in human history. People who are simultaneously overstimulated and profoundly bored. Let me tell you something that the tech industry doesn't want you to understand. You are not the customer. You never were. When a product is free, you are the product. Your attention is the commodity being sold. Every second you spend on a platform is inventory that can be monetized through advertising. This creates a perverse incentive structure. The platforms don't benefit when you're informed, productive, or mentally healthy. They benefit when you're engaged. And what engages the human brain most effectively? Not nuanced analysis, not careful reasoning, not educational content. Outrage engages, controversy engages, fear engages, content that triggers your fight or flight response. That's what keeps you scrolling. The algorithms that control what you see aren't designed to show you what's true, or what's important, or what's good for you. They're designed to show you what you'll click on. They're optimization engines for attention capture, and they're terrifyingly good at their job. You're not scrolling through content. You're being guided through a maze that's been specifically designed to keep you inside as long as possible. Here's where the story becomes genuinely frightening. For those of us old enough to remember life before smartphones, there's at least a reference point. We know what sustained concentration feels like. We remember reading books for hours, having conversations without the buzzing of notifications, experiencing boredom and learning to sit with it. But there's an entire generation, Generation Alpha, the iPad kids, who have never known that world. Their brains are developing in an environment of constant stimulation. Neural pathways that evolved to handle information at the pace of physical reality are being bathed in content streams that would have overwhelmed any human brain in history. The data is starting to come in, and it's alarming. Teachers across the developed world are reporting the same phenomenon. Students who cannot maintain focus for more than a few minutes. Reading comprehension scores are declining. The ability to follow a complex argument, to hold multiple ideas in mind simultaneously, to engage in what psychologists call deep processing. These capacities are eroding. According to research, 42% of Generation Z has been diagnosed with a mental health condition. The dominant emotions this generation reports about their future: stress and anxiety, not hope, not excitement, fear. The generation that has infinite information at their fingertips feels less capable, less confident, and less connected than any generation before them. There's a term that's emerged to describe the lowest tier of digital content: slop. AI slop, content slop, an endless river of meaningless, algorithmically generated material designed for one purpose: to capture eyeballs long enough to serve advertisements. With the rise of generative AI, the production of this content has become almost frictionless. Anyone with basic technical skills can now produce hundreds of videos, articles, or images per day. The content doesn't need to be good. It doesn't need to be true. It doesn't need to be meaningful. It just needs to be engaging enough to watch. You've seen it. Videos where the screen is split, someone talking on top, a mobile game playing on the bottom. Your conscious mind is following the speaker, but your attention is hijacked by the movement and color below. Content creators discovered that this format increases watch time, so the algorithm promotes it, so more creators adopt it. This is the essence of brain rot, content that optimizes for engagement at the expense of everything else. Meaning, truth, mental health, all sacrificed on the altar of the attention economy. And here's the economic reality that makes this worse. If you have money, you can buy your way out. Premium subscriptions remove ads. Private schools limit screen time. Wealthy families hire specialists to help their children develop attention skills. But if you're poor, you get the full blast of optimized content designed to capture and hold your attention by any means necessary. The attention economy is creating a new class divide. Those who can afford to think clearly and those who can't. Let's pause for a moment and talk about something beautiful. Reading, actual sustained reading of complex text, is one of the most sophisticated cognitive activities humans have ever invented. Think about what happens when you read. Your visual cortex processes abstract symbols on a page. Your language centers translate those symbols into meaning. Your memory systems connect new information to existing knowledge. Your prefrontal cortex holds the thread of an argument across pages, chapters, entire books. Multiple brain regions synchronize in a coordinated dance that took thousands of years to develop. Reading isn't natural. No one is born knowing how to do it. It's a technology for thought, and learning it literally rewires your brain. When you read deeply, you enter a state of focused attention that researchers call flow. Your stress hormones decrease. Your brain produces steady, sustainable levels of reward chemicals. You're not chasing dopamine hits. You're building neural architecture. Studies have shown that just 10 minutes of focused reading can reduce cortisol levels by nearly 70%. That's more effective than music, more effective than walking, more effective than almost any other stress reduction technique we know of. But here's the thing. Deep reading requires something that modern technology is systematically destroying. It requires patience. It requires the willingness to sit with difficulty, to push through confusion, to delay the gratification of understanding until you've done the work to earn it. This is precisely the capacity that infinite scroll is eroding. Here's where I refuse to end on despair. Because despite everything I've told you, there's evidence that something remarkable is happening. People are waking up. Book sales are rising globally. Libraries are seeing increased traffic. The book talk phenomenon has introduced millions of young readers to literature. International book fairs are breaking attendance records. There's a counter-movement emerging. People are recognizing that something essential is being lost, and they're fighting to reclaim it. Digital detox retreats are booming. Dumb phone movements are gaining traction. Schools are implementing phone-free policies. Parents are pushing back against the assumption that children need constant digital stimulation. This isn't nostalgia. This is survival instinct. Because here's the truth that the attention economy doesn't want you to understand. You have more power than you think. Your brain's plasticity works both ways. The same mechanism that allowed distraction to rewire your neural pathways can be used to rebuild them. If your brain is a garden that's been overrun with weeds, the solution isn't to burn it down. It's to start cultivating again. Here's what the neuroscience actually tells us about recovery. First, awareness is non-negotiable. You cannot change a pattern you're not conscious of. Start tracking your screen time, not to shame yourself, but to see the reality clearly. Most people are shocked to discover how many hours per day they're surrendering to their devices. Second, clean your digital environment. Unfollow accounts that trigger mindless scrolling. Turn off notifications for everything that isn't genuinely urgent. Treat your attention like the precious resource it is, because that's exactly what it is. Third, reintroduce friction. The ease of digital content is precisely what makes it dangerous. Make the unhealthy option slightly harder to access. Put your phone in another room. Log out of social media apps so you have to consciously log back in. Create barriers between impulse and action. Fourth, rediscover slow dopamine. Exercise, creative projects, learning new skills, conversations with actual human beings in physical space. These activities don't provide the instant gratification of a scroll session, but they build the neural pathways that lead to genuine satisfaction. Fifth, practice boredom. This might be the most counterintuitive advice, but it's crucial. Boredom is not the enemy. Boredom is the space where creativity emerges, where self-reflection happens, where your brain consolidates learning and makes unexpected connections. The inability to tolerate boredom is itself a symptom of brain rot. Rebuilding that capacity is part of the cure. Here's what I want to leave you with. Every great invention comes with a shadow. Fire gave us warmth and cooked food, but also destruction. The printing press spread knowledge, but also propaganda. Nuclear energy powers cities, but also threatens extinction. The internet and social media are no different. They've given us unprecedented access to information, connection across impossible distances, tools for learning and creativity that previous generations couldn't have imagined. But they've also given us something else, the most sophisticated attention capture technology ever created, deployed at scale across billions of minds, optimizing for engagement regardless of the cost to mental health, social cohesion, or truth itself. The question isn't whether to abandon technology. That ship has sailed. The question is whether you will be a conscious participant in your own attention, or whether you will surrender that most fundamental aspect of yourself to systems designed to exploit you. Your prefrontal cortex, that magnificent achievement of evolution, gives you something no algorithm can take away: the ability to choose, the ability to notice what's happening and decide to do something different, the ability to step back, assess, and redirect. That capacity might be weakened, it might be harder to access than it used to be, but it's still there, and every time you exercise it, you make it stronger. The opposite of brain rot isn't brain health, it's brain sovereignty. The reclamation of your own mind from the systems that would colonize it for profit. This isn't a fight you can win once and be done with. It's a daily practice, a constant choice, an ongoing assertion of your humanity against machines designed to reduce you to a metric. But it's a fight worth having, because on the other side of that struggle is something precious: the clarity to think your own thoughts, the patience to pursue your own goals, the presence to actually experience your own life. Your brain is waiting. It's ready to heal, to grow, to become something more than a passive receptor for content. The only question is whether you're ready to take it back.